Hello, and welcome to a very special podcast here on the Outerhaven. This is our Avengers Endgame Spoiler Podcast. Let me repeat that for you. Avengers Endgame Spoiler Podcast. So if you listen to this and you hear spoilers, don't get mad at us. We warned you this was happening. Anyway.
Exactly.
There you go. Thank you, Keith. Our mighty overlord. Would that make you Captain America or Iron Man?
Falcon.
Ooh, interesting choice. Okay, we actually have a very full set of people here ready to talk about Endgame, including Andrew.
Yep, that's me. I'm Andrew. I wrote the review of Endgame. I gave it 4 stars out of 5. So
And I'm
we'll
sure a
talk
lot of
about
people hate you
later.
for that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we have Keith, obviously.
I think I'm the only one in this room who's seen the movie 3 times so far.
Really?
3 times? Yes. Oof. I've seen it twice. We have Rob.
Yo, what's good? We're finally here. It's all done, kind of. Not really, but yeah.
Of Black Widow, I mean Sara.
Hi, y'all. Also, I should get extra points because I saw it twice and with walking pneumonia. So I think I'm the true Avenger here, y'all.
Clap.
I literally watched Endgame twice. Then on the second viewing, went right home and watched Game of Thrones: Battle of Winterfell. So who's the real hero here? I had
Lyanna Mormont.
Yeah.
Lyanna Mormont's the real hero here. Shush.
Arya fans will disagree with you. I am Todd Black, host of the Nintendo Entertainment Podcast, and along with me is my good Nintendo friend, William.
I'm just like, okay, I know we just had a shindig before with the NEP, but also I just recently did another anime podcast as well. So just coming in this podcast is like, oh boy, what have I got myself into?
Question, the fact that you use shindig in a sentence is fascinating, but I digress.
I also get that reference.
Do too. So we're gonna have a lot of fun today or tonight, whatever. Talking about Endgame, and again, we're going to go into spoilers galore, and then of course talking everything about the movie that we feel we can do in about an hour. So let's get started with overall impressions of the movie. Andrew, as you were the one who wrote the review, the official review for Outerhaven, let's start with you. What were your overall impressions of Endgame?
Yeah. So overall, I really liked it. I felt like it did a great job in tying up a lot of threads from Infinity War and the MCU in general. Great acting, a lot of great moments. I will jump quickly. If you want to read, the review that has all my impressions, so I won't go into it too much. I will defend the measly 4 out of 5 stars with just saying that with Infinity War, I left it feeling like it had a lot of great moments, highs and lows. I was really moved. With this, it felt a little bit more by the numbers for me. Still great, but a little bit more like they were trying to be like, okay, we have to move the pieces into place. And it was impressive to experience, but as a film on its own, it just didn't quite stick that landing. But still, 4 out of 5 is great, and it was a great movie, and really had a lot of satisfying moments.
All right. Keith, as the only one here who has seen it 3 times. Applause.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I know.
What do you think?
I'm sorry. I will have to agree with Andrew. I think that Endgame is one of the movies out there that you have to see the first part to get the entire picture. And it definitely was a by the numbers movie. They had a lot of things they set out to do. Introduce Captain Marvel for those who didn't see Captain Marvel in the movies. Bring everybody together. Bring everybody up to speed on what exactly has happened. They had to also give you that false sense of, hey, they're going to do this at the very beginning of the movie, and they couldn't do that. Despair sets in, they ramp you back up again, and then they start to get to the climax. So I do feel that a 4.5 was actually worth what the movie is. And when I first saw the movie, I was like, this is the best movie I've ever seen. But then when I went back and saw it the second time, it's like, there's some parts that could have been a lot better. And then when I saw it the final time, it's like, yeah, this definitely could have been fleshed out a lot more. But given it was already a 3-hour movie, there's only so much they could have done. Still loved it. Easily one of the best movies in the MCU.
Fair enough. Rob, how about you?
So first impression for me, I thought it had a very serviceably good sense of finality with it. I thought it ended on a pretty good note. I enjoyed it a lot. I personally thought that Infinity War just had a lot more of an emotional connection in terms of, because obviously there's a whole bunch more of despair and sadness that goes on. I still liked it a lot, including that first act that's just full of like despair, people realizing what's happened, and then like the time jump and everything that kind of happened to everybody. And they really they did a good job of kind of like really taking and running with the awful, thematically awful ending of Infinity War, and went on to kind of push it further and really hammer it home that, Thanos really did something, that was truly tragic. And I felt that was insane and really great. And then once we started kind of jumping into some of the, time travel stuff, I was on the ride and I enjoyed it. It was a little kooky, and I kind of understood that and went into the rest of it thinking, yeah, all right, well, they're going to run with it, and that's just how it's going to be. And I'll enjoy it, but it's not like, it didn't feel as profound to me so much as Infinity War was, but I still enjoyed it a lot. Had a really good sense of finale to the whole series, and they wrapped it up pretty well.
A depressingly dark superhero movie. I seem to recall that happening somewhere before and not getting critical praise. Oh, that's another podcast. I'm so sorry. Natasha, Sara, darn it. How about you?
Okay, well, before you decide to QQ more, I was very much overwhelmed the first time I saw it. Not because I was sick, probably a little bit because I was sick, but it felt like there was just so much to take in. And then the second time I saw it, I was just sitting there and going like, you know what? I want a 5-hour director's cut. Like Lord of the Rings this shit. Like let's just go for the 5-hour 3-disc box set. That's what I want. I ended up liking it a lot more the second time around because I sort of knew where it was going. And I could pick up a little bit better on the narrative ties. I felt a little less overwhelmed by all the different aspects, because you had at one time 3 different storylines going down, on top of then a 4th storyline that pops up at one point, and then the 5th one that pops up. It's a lot to take in. So for me, the first time through I would have given it a 4, like Andrew. The second time through I bump it up to a 4.5. But I definitely think that this movie would have benefited a lot from the extra uncut footage that I'm sure is out there. There's a version somewhere out there that is going to give us everything we want. But more about that later.
All right. As for me, like I said, I did see it twice. I saw it once with a good friend of mine. Then I saw the second time with my father and my uncle. And the first time, I wasn't overwhelmed per se, but I was shocked by some of the things that they did, especially like the first act and a certain jaw-dropping moment that I'll mention in a later topic. And in terms of nerd spectacle, like just pure nerd spectacle, this was a near masterpiece of a movie. The ending scene, the ending fight, everyone together, Avengers assembled, though he said it very, very quietly, which I did not approve of. And then the A-Force coming together, comic people will know that reference, and everything else. It was nerd overload. It was great. All the references to the comics, from the looks to the lines to the storylines, it was great stuff. That being said, in terms of a story aspect, there were rather slow points. While I appreciated some of their bolder moments, some of them didn't stick. I didn't like that some characters who were highly, highly publicized as being in this movie, including a couple leading ladies, were barely in the film at all. And then there's the time travel, which we'll be talking about in force later, because it's the thing that almost ruins the spectacle. So I personally, after seeing 2 times, would give it a 4.5 out of 5. But I can also understand some of Andrew's points of why it's a little lower. So yeah. One more thing, I refuse to believe that none of the Avengers in that room during the test run scene did not know about Doctor Who. Okay, they named every single time travel movie and show except for Doctor Who. I don't give a dang that you're American. You will name Doctor Who.
Yeah,
Who?
that was a gross misjudgment on their part.
I almost, like, my friend of mine was like, no, they just named the movies. And I'm like, oh, you're right. But then I remembered, Scott said Quantum Leap, which is a TV show starring Scott Bakula. So you had
Wasn't
no
it
excuse
also a
not.
movie though?
I don't know, but it was a TV show. I know that for certain.
Yes,
I
it
might have-
definitely was a TV show. I'm pretty sure there's a Quantum Leap movie.
Really interesting. All right, well,
Yes.
that's another podcast for another time. Travel. Anyway, Will, all of you.
Well, for me, speaking as like kind of a bit of a casual here, like my first impression is basically like, yeah, that first act, that is obviously the one of the shocking moments. Like, wow, that was quick. And then after that, yes, there's that depression period, and afterward, they just, yeah, that whole time travel plot is definitely kind of far fetching for me. Especially, I mean, again, it's a time travel plot, so it has done many times over. But overall, as you said, Todd, regard to just how it's just pure nerd fan service, yes, I definitely agree in that part. It's just there is just so many things that connects all these films, all the entire MCU into this film. Like it's almost to the point of an Easter egg hunt. There's just so many Easter eggs. Like, oh, can you remember this reference? Can you remember that reference? Like, do you remember this? Like, yeah, it just connects everything together. Like that's one thing I'll give props to is that it's just pure fan service, and especially at the ending moments. Like if anything else I have to criticize about is like, yeah, there are definitely some consistencies. Like for example, regarding to like Captain America's shield, that's one thing I'm kind of like a little iffy about.
Oh yeah, I hated that.
And regarding to like, yeah, I don't know. Like there'll be some characters that. I mean, I haven't seen the entire CU universe. I haven't seen all 22 films, so there'll be definitely some things like I'll be definitely missing, and just that there is something I'm just like don't connect as much. Like like unless the main films like Iron Man, Captain America, and of course the Avengers movies themselves. So, but overall, it is a very good film, I admit. So, there again some inconsistencies, but I do definitely agree with masses. Like it is definitely a great film, really a great fan service film. So I'm definitely up in the range of like the 4.5 as well.
Okay, so just to confirm, Will, you have not seen all 22 films.
Of course not. Who has that moment at the time?
Me?
Wow, me? Okay, ladies and
Me.
gentlemen, we have just confirmed that Will is a filthy casual.
It's me, princess.
Hey, that's a different podcast. Keep your focus.
GTFO.
Yeah. All right,
It's
actually, I
okay.
want to
I've
bring
seen
up
like
one really,
most of them.
yeah, one really quick question
Definitely not all.
before we move on to the next topic, because on the topic of Easter eggs, how many of you saw Howard the Duck in the final battle sequence?
I did not. I was not looking for him.
Was in there. It's a
Wow.
blink and you miss it moment, but when Wasp comes down and joins the fight, if you look to her left, so you're right on the screen, Howard the Duck is there with a gun. They totally did that.
Huh.
Totally did that. I did not catch it myself. I had to see it on Twitter, and I think I got to see it the second time, but it's totally there. So for you fans, look for that next time. All right.
Look that up.
I know. That was big. So moving on to what were some of your favorite moments in the movie? I'll give you one or two, as long as you keep it short. So Andrew, back to you. What was your favorite moments in Endgame?
Yeah, I think this is going to be maybe several people's favorite moment, but I'm first, so I get to say it first. I really loved the huge battle at the end, but to just highlight a couple moments of that, when the portals just started opening up and everyone started coming back, that was a great moment, especially in the theater. People were just applauding when their favorite character came back, and that was like a huge fan service moment, but I loved it. And also during that same battle, another huge fan service moment when they were running the gauntlet. It was so cheesy to be like, okay, like I've run enough distance. I'm gonna pass this off to the next group. But I loved it. Like it was dumb but it was fun. So yeah, those were my two within that battle.
Nothing wrong with that, man. Nothing wrong with that. All right, Keith, how about you?
My favorites was also the last battle, mainly because I'm a big Captain America fan. When Cap finally picked up Mjolnir, and it was like, hey, he could have picked this up in Avengers Age of Ultron,
Yep.
but he didn't want to show off Thor. That was an amazing moment because many Captain America fans have always wondered when exactly is he going to pick up the hammer, because he's done it so many times in the comic.
You know why he couldn't pick it up before, right?
Well, they never said he couldn't. They never said he couldn't.
No, they couldn't. But there's a very popular fan theory that's been semi-confirmed. It's that, remember, Age of Ultron takes place after Winter Soldier, right?
It does.
So okay, so Winter Soldier, the scene where Zola is talking about how Hydra was slowly taking over the world, they showed the death, the article about Howard Stark's death, and they showed the Winter Soldier star, and so Cap knew that moment that
Cap
Bucky
didn't know
killed
about it.
Stark, but he felt guilty that he didn't tell Tony, which of course backfired in Civil War. So there was that guilt that weighed him down.
Yeah, but he also said, I did this to protect you as well,
It's
so it
not
can
the
be
same.
taken. It can be some in real life situations. I didn't do something because I didn't want to give you that despair.
Anyway, that's another topic for another time.
See,
but
the second one was, and I think a lot of people probably won't agree, was the death of Tony Stark. Only because anybody who's followed Tony Stark since the beginning of the MCU know that he was he was arrogant, he thought he was the number one, the main person. And as you slowly watched him in this movie, you saw him change. He went from caring about just himself to other people. He had a daughter. He had Morgan. He finally got married, but he was willing to give that up to one last chance to save the universe, to save the planet. And at the end, it was all those things at once going. The same conversation that he had with Captain America in the first Avengers, when Cap says, "You're not the one who jumped on a live grenade." He jumped on the grenade. You saw the entire retrospect from him, from being that guy who was the jerk to being that guy who saved the day.
Yep.
So I thought that was a nice wrap up to his arc. No pun intended.
No. Rob, how about you?
All right. Yeah. My two favorite parts. The first one, which I'm sure some of you will agree, and was absolutely hilarious to me, was the first time we see Thor after his beautiful physical transformation. I was not ready for that, at all. I heard they were talking about, he's been, drinking, and they look over at the beer. I'm like, oh, okay, he's just going to be kind of messed up when they find him. But to see him all strapped up in the full fat suit, I was impressed. I was like, this is amazing. I'm surprised they even went that far.
It was bold. It was bold for sure.
Yeah. And they stuck with it too. Even when he goes to Asgard, he's still in the whole suit. It was amazing to me that they even did that. But probably the more impactful moment is obviously with the final battle, but specifically for me is when Doctor Strange and all the portals start coming in, and then we start to see literally every single Avenger start coming in, and everybody starts the final battle. That's the part where I legitimately actually got goosebumps. I was like, all right, this is when it starts. The whole party's here. It's time to go. I was so psyched when that happened. I was like, yes, finally. It was so gratifying.
Yeah, the world agrees with you, Rob. The world agrees with you. All right, Sarah, how about you?
Oh, this time I'm not Natasha. Okay, I see how it is.
I can keep going, but I didn't want to
kill me off in your heart. You kicked me off in your heart. Anyway, so for me, actually, I concur with a little bit with Keith about, I didn't actually used to like Tony Stark very much. I was like, he's fine, but whatever. I'm more of a Captain America person. But this movie really turned me over. And on Monday, when I went to go see the movie, it was clear that I had ended up in the theater with just an ass ton of other people who had already seen it over the weekend too. And they're just there to see it again. So in the moment in the final battle, when Thanos goes, "I am inevitable," and then Tony Stark lifts the glove, and you see all the Infinity Stones there, and he's like, "I am Iron Man." Everyone in my theater just screamed, screech of death, holy fuck. And so for me, that's just the perfect moment where you see where Tony Stark has come from at the end of Iron Man 1 saying, "Yeah, I'm Iron Man," and to this moment where he is sort of figuratively detonating the grenade to save everybody's life. And then in terms of a second moment, this is kind of silly, but when they get Tony Stark back and he's sitting in the wheelchair, and Rocket's talking about failure, and he goes, for a moment there, I thought you were a Build-A-Bear, and Rocket's like, yeah, I might be, and I'm like,
Oh, yeah, that was one of my
yeah.
biggest laughs.
It was so funny. So yeah, excellent use of Rocket in this movie. But those would be my moments.
All good moments so far. So I'm actually going to pick two that none of you have said so far. So this is actually kind of nice. Hey, watch it, you. Number one, the cameos. Like seriously, like we had heard before the movie came out that there were going to be certain cameos, like Tilda Swinton coming back as the Ancient One. There was rumors that Peggy was going to be coming back, but we didn't know how. And then the way they incorporated them into the storyline without making it seem out of place was brilliant. Of course, the Ancient One would be caring about the Sanctum Sanctorum in New York because that's one of the 3 portals. And then having Natalie Portman come back for that one scene as Jane, no one saw that coming. And they're like, she was like all the rage at the premiere because like, wait a minute, Portman's back. Why is Portman here? And then having Robert Redford come back as Alexander Pierce, having Agent Sitwell and Rumlov and like the Strike Force team, and almost reenacting the elevator fight part 2, as I like to call it. It was just hilarious. All the references to all the past movies, and they were just so well placed. It fit the story great, and it brought me a lot of joy. Just seeing it all there, because you're like, how big of a I am legit want to know how many like significant name characters were in this movie, because it was easily in the dozens. So it was just really, really cool. But the second one actually coincides with one of the things I didn't like about the movie, was that they were emphasizing the role of Captain Marvel, Carol Danvers, in this movie. And she was in basically 3 scenes. She was in the opening scene where they take down Thanos. She was in the hologram scene with her rockin' new haircut. So shut up about that, Rocket. And then she was in the ending scene with the final battle. And I hated that. But I can't deny, when she entered the final battle, it was boss. They're like, rain fire on them, and like everyone's like getting hurt and dying, and then it all stops, and like, what are they shooting at? And I'm like, oh, I know what they're shooting at. And here comes Carol, bang, right through Thanos'
Pulled
ship.
Laura Dern Last Jedi move, which
I was about to say that.
Hold on. In the Captain Marvel movie, she destroyed ships on her own. So that was her own thing. So she, unlike a certain Vice Admiral in The Last Jedi, which was completely stupid, Carol actually proved that she could do this in the past. So I'm all for this. And it was just a boss move.
I think we were just meaning like the dope ass visual.
Yeah, I like it. I just like people
the visual,
splitting ships.
Then, the visual. Even Thanos was stunned. You have to do something impressive for Thanos to be like, oh crap, I just lost something huge.
I'm still trying to figure out why nobody's like, just blow up his ship that's sitting up there blowing us to smithereens.
Because they were kind of focused about the army trying to kill them on the ground.
It's like,
no one ever aims for the head.
Punch it.
And you had how many people that could take that ship down right there? You had Wanda who could have done it.
Well, okay, hold on. I acknowledge that Wanda could have done it because of what she showed in Infinity War with those spinning wheels of death, but it was also a timing thing. She had to get up there, and there's no way that Thanos, the Black Order, and all the rest of them would just let her take down the ship without a fight.
If I'm being honest here, I don't think there was anybody on that field that could have stopped her, as she shown when she was kicking Thanos' butt.
I don't know. Well, yeah,
she was pissed.
That was yeah, and yet she was also a PO during the Infinity War when Vision was hurt and she couldn't take down 2 of the Black Orders. So all it takes is again one to strike.
But you gotta remember that they also said that she got a better control of her powers. Kind of happens when you lose your significant other. And
anyway, so as much as I didn't like that Captain Marvel was kind of put to the side from yeah, but she at least made sure that she made her presence felt in the final battle, and I love that. Also, final one, the third little bonus one, the A4 shot of all the epic women of Marvel just coming together, including Pepper Potts in armor, like all of them just uniting for that one epic little slew of a scene. That was just totally awesome for me. Will?
Well, for me, I'm surprised you didn't mention. None of you actually mentioned this moment. Like this one moment is a very fun moment, the taco scene. I mean, I just really love that whole taco scene. Like, I was basically trying to eat taco, like nope, got blown away. Like, hey, what the heck? And then
Yeah, that whole segment was good.
and then like
good. And
yeah,
then
just hold it
Kind Hulk.
here. You want here. Have my taco, and then like that was just like a very cute moment. I really
I like
enjoyed.
Rhodey. I like Rhodey. What's up? Not so big. What is it? Not. What did he say? What's up? Not so big, man.
Yeah, like average size man or something
Yeah.
like that. Because he
Yeah,
remembers
Regular
Civil War.
size man.
Yeah, regular size man.
right. So there's
Can I
yeah, sir.
can I add an addendum to my favorite moment?
Sure.
Speaking of those, damn right, that's America's ass.
Oh,
Yeah.
that one.
Another good one, yeah.
Yes,
That was-
yes.
Then that's the problem with this movie. There's just so many good takes in the movie. It's really hard to pinpoint one or two because everybody here probably has a dozen that were easily their favorite.
It's true.
Right.
It's true.
So,
All right.
yeah,
Aside from continue with yours, Will.
aside from the taco scene, like I always gotta give just good honorable mention to Stan's last cameo because like make love, not war. Oh man, that was a great moment. That was a great moment. There. I mean, brief, but
Stan.
yeah, again, that's the last time we see him. So,
It was
that's
clever
good.
because I can honestly say they hadn't done a time traveling, Stan one before, because it was always him in the present, with the exception of obviously Captain America, the first one, because he was in 1945. But this one felt, different, with his looks and everything.
So you gotta get pop. But the main one that really hit me hard is pretty much in consensus as well. Like that last line from Tony Stark, like "I am Iron Man," and again, it's as I said, like from the first movie, I am Iron Man. He was that cocky attitude too. Now he has changed it so far and saying that line with gusto. Heck, I'm still playing the animated series opening of that Iron Man theme back in the 90s. Like that thing is pretty much that was pure service. Like when I heard that line in the theaters, like, wow, they did it. They set the line. They did it. They set the line. It was like but yeah, it just shows the growth from Tony Stark and like paying tribute to that source material is like, yeah, that's just pure service mode right there, which I love. I absolutely love.
All right. So from our favorite moments let's go to our most surprising moment. And I know there were many in Endgame, so I want you to focus on your biggest surprise of the entire movie. Andrew, kick it off.
Yeah, definitely Chunky Thor.
Yes.
Excuse
And I
me,
don't-
dad bod Thor, okay?
I want to say dad bod Thor. Sure, I really want after this film I really want a spin-off movie with dad bod Thor and old Captain America. I would love that, like just like a buddy duo movie. That is my dream. But yeah, that was a surprise that they went with that, and also that they just kept it for the whole movie. Surprised me.
Real question
Yeah.
was going from buzz cut Thor to are you officially calling it dad bod Thor? Okay. Do you
According
think
to the
that
term.
do you think that took a Thor night?
Oh, that was amazing.
Oh, yeah.
That was
That's
an amazing
true.
surprise.
I can't help myself.
I think that whole scene, also that Taika Waititi's character was back. That was also a surprise, and I liked his cameo. Yeah, that whole scene had like these little quirky surprises.
All right, Keith, what about you? What was your biggest surprise?
I'm going to cheat here and basically say all the scenes they took from a lot of the Marvel comics, mainly Captain America ones, and fit them all to the movie. So that means the Hell Hydra scene in the elevator.
It's great.
That means Captain America giving up his shield to Sam to make him the next Captain America. Because
great.
there was a couple of arguments that I saw on the internet about why they didn't give the Winter Soldier and what was happening here. And how many times Captain America gave up his shield. And it's like, well, you got to remember, Captain America only willingly gave up his shield to one person his entire duration. The other times it was taken from him. He's only ever given it to one person, and that has been Sam. When Winter Soldier had it, he died. When he became, Nomad, it was stripped from him. He only ever gave it up to one person. So I like the fact that they took moments from the comics and fit them into the movie.
I like that. That's very nice, Keith. All right, Rob?
Yeah, so I kind of already mentioned it before, but obviously the biggest surprise for me was Dad Bod Thor. That was insane. And the fact that they ran with it for so long, I was just like, this is incredible. Uh, but another thing that surprised me too was the Hail Hydra moment, because I was like fully expecting like another version of like the elevator fight, and then I was like, wait, that's really smart. Like I wasn't thinking about that until he said it, and I was like, oh, okay, good move. Yeah, that part surprised me a lot, which I wasn't ready for, but I was
And
like,
you know,
yeah.
and a lot of people give Captain flack because he's one of the most honorable men, but they say he's not one of the smartest men. And it would have been so easy for like, especially like Winter Soldier style, Cap to just do the elevator fight again because he knows he's gonna win. And yet he
Mhm.
goes, nope, I know what's gonna happen. I know who all these people are. Hail Hydra. Boom.
Yeah.
See? Smart.
That surprised me to no end. I mean, really smart on his part. It had less work for him, I guess, but
Yep.
All right, Wanda, Sarah.
Oh boy, I'm gonna be every girl in the MCU now. Hell yeah.
I'll wait for the next one.
Oh Jesus. All right. Well, at least I went from being dead to like smashing Thanos. So I kind of want to split my answer real quick into two, like a good surprise and a bad surprise.
All right.
The good surprise for me is the Captain America versus Captain America fight, primarily because older, like 2019 or whatever year it's supposed to be,
Three.
modern Captain America is just so done with old Captain America shit. They're like, I can do the whole like, yeah, I know,
That's
and
great.
just and the whole joke about Bucky's still alive, and it's just like Bucky, like totally playing off exactly it's the Martha moment, but no, like knowing just how to play himself and just being so like a little bit done with like how naive and stupid he used to be. Like that to me was a really great surprise. Bad surprise that I think a lot of people liked but I didn't like was I don't actually understand, I don't know what term we can use, but like Hulk Banner,
Oh
right?
god.
Oh yes,
Where
yes,
he's now
yes.
like the mix of two. I was like,
Yeah.
why would you do this? I mean, I know it's a thing in the comics, but like, why would you do this?
That was
It's-
you either like that or you didn't like that. I'm a bit neutral. I mean, I kind of understand it given what happened with Ragnarok and Infinity War, but it was really odd to look at. I mean, I'm sorry, it
Yeah.
was. It was.
Unpleasant surprise.
Yeah, and then how he like it was. Oh, it's perfect that he can use the Infinity Stones because it's only gamma radiation. I don't like and this is like slightly off topic. I didn't like that the whole Infinity Gauntlet took a toll on you because in the comics that doesn't happen or
I
or
see,
not
I
to
see, I
that
see, I
Yeah.
see.
extent because so many people in the comics have used the Infinity Gauntlet without dying. So
Welp.
yeah,
We needed to raise the stakes, guys.
I suppose
Raise them
so.
stakes.
Yeah, which
Like
actually
sirloins on
ties.
spikes.
Yeah, which actually ties into my biggest surprise.
I was also going to say before you did that, you also got to remember they did change up a couple things because you got to remember in the comics they call it the Infinity Gems, not the stones.
Wow, such
Womp
a big
womp.
change.
Then hey, they changed it. They changed it. Come on.
Anyway, so my biggest surprise was one that when it happened, my jaw literally dropped, and my friend Leia can attest to this, and that is three simple words: 5 years later.
Ah.
Think about it. Think of all the movies we have seen now, or I'm sorry, most of us have seen, right, Will? And they've never had to do that big of a time jump outside of Captain America waking up in 2000 whatever it was. And yet they committed to the fact that Thanos won for 5 years. They committed to the fact that the Avengers lost for 5 years, that they had to move on or try to move on for 5 years before Scott got out of the quantum realm. That was so bold. So was Dad Bod Thor and, Banner Hulk
Also,
and all
shout
that.
out to that rat. That rat was the real hero.
That rat was the real hero. God bless that rat. Can we call him Splinter?
He was the one. Just Doctor Strange watching this one rat go in like 14 million other directions.
And you got to think about that. It's like Strange knew all this was going to happen. All of it.
All of it. Anyway, but I loved because when you think about the trailers, they did show some things from the final battle, like the three walking up to Thanos as he was sitting down and all that. But you never ever had it cross off your mind that this was 5 years into the future. Not once, because you're like, they're gonna go after the stones. They might have to use time travel. That's fine, but the fact that they, and to copy a phrase that Rob and Andrew have been using, they committed to it. They stuck with it throughout. This is 5 years into the future after Infinity War, and that was just really surprising to me. It was to me, but again, they didn't tease that at all. They teased the suits, and you thought, oh, time travel is happening, but we're thinking, what, 6 months, maybe a year if you push it. But the fact that they went 5 years, that they allowed them to try and move on for 5 years, so that Tony could have his kid, so that Dad Bod Thor could happen, so that Banner could work out his crap, so that Natasha could just, basically revert to who she is and everything else. Oh, and Carol gets her haircut, obviously. But, 5 years, that was just stunning to me that they did that.
I get that, and I see how that is significant, but the problem I had with that is, ever since Ant-Man and the Wasp, we knew that time travel was going to be part of this. We knew this was going to be part of this. And that kind of let a lot of the air out of the movie. Because it's like, I was really hoping that they didn't do that. I was like, you don't need to do this. Do something else. But, hey, look, time travel. Let's use that because it's the easy way out.
Yeah, easy. So easy. Anyway, that's another topic. Will?
For me, it's kind of a bit of a casual moment, but for me, the biggest surprise was when Tony Stark met his own father back in the time travel period, and like when I see like, oh, hey, like this is your father, like, whoa. I mean, granted, it is pretty of a Deus Ex Machina mechanism, but like Tony finally seeing his father again after all that he experienced, and then talking with him like a normal conversation, like, I'm worried about my child, and like, yeah, I also have a child, and just basically discussing how he should act as a father, how he's gonna be in future. Before he knew that I was gonna die is like, yeah, it's kind of like that bonding moment between father and son once again, like, and Senior Stark just said like, have I met him before? And like that his origin, like Jarvis, everybody's like, wow, like Stark actually not being a dick for once and just talking with like,
shout out to the Jarvis actor who is from the Peggy Carter, Agent Carter series.
Yep.
That was great. He is officially super canon now. Because there was like, oh, are the TV series canon? Now you know Jarvis is canon.
Now you know that Marvel doesn't know what the hell they want to do with their movies and their actual TV shows.
Thanks, continuity.
Agent Carter.
Anyway. Right. And just, yeah, Stark fought, like, yeah, don't worry, it's gonna be a great future. And after that, it's just, yeah, Stark being actually a father figure before like his eventual death. So yeah, that's one thing, a major surprise for me.
All right, so we've danced around and talked about the characters. Which character do you think was best portrayed in Endgame? Andrew, kick it off.
Yeah, it's interesting. Part of why I personally liked Infinity War better is it had more of the characters that I personally liked, like the Guardians of the Galaxy crew, Spider-Man, Doctor Strange. But I get, they got snapped, so they had to kind of sideline them. For me, I feel like the real surprise standout was Nebula, in that she was very one note in the other films, and this one she had a much more nuanced story. So I didn't expect to like her or her story as much as I did, and I love Karen Gillan, so that was a treat for her to get a lot of screen time and get a really interesting character arc. So that would be mine.
All right. For me, I have to say it was Natasha, Black Widow, because when she was first introduced, she was introduced as this assassin, this heartless person who did what she needed to do to get the job done. We saw more of that again, and Captain America: Winter Soldier, when she was talking to Rogers about maybe you're in the wrong line of work. And as they go along, she starts to slowly come around. She gets in a relationship with Banner. And then this happens. And she basically becomes the mother of the Avengers. She cares about everybody's well-being. She's upset about what happened with the snap. And at the very end of it all, she was willing to give up her life to bring everybody back. And the whole fight scene between her and Clint, two friends who've been through thick and through forever. And just when he thought he had it, she went up some and says, nope, I got this. You go back to your family. I don't have anything right now. I need this. that was another big character development for her, and I enjoyed it. I hate to see her die off because I really wanted to see more of her in the movie, but at the same time, I understood why they did that. She came in with nothing. She went out having everything that she's ever wanted, because, as you know, she could never actually have a family of her own.
Rob.
Yeah, so my pick, kind of sort of a cop out, but I mean, I felt like Iron Man had the most like pivotal and most progressed story arc throughout the whole thing. I thought he was probably the most important character, just because we kind of witnessed him in the beginning have that sort of regression back to just this kind of like very selfish I am Iron Man type of guy who only cares about himself. And you see like he once goes and raises a family and gets married to Piper, so they like start a family together. And I mean, it's still kind of in his selfish interest, but you see a little bit of character development but it's still kind of like in the sense like when they first go to see him and they're like, hey, we have an idea about how to reverse the snap, and he kind of thinks about it and he's like, I just started this near perfect life for myself and I'm truly happy and I'm able to finally have a family, and he still has to think about it, but like as he kind of goes on and he finally says, hey, I have to do this, she kind of says like, hey, are you going to be able to rest, and
That was a great line.
Yeah, it was a really great line. And finally having that go-to moment where he's like, all right, I have to do this. And then we kind of see over time where that selfishness kind of goes away and he starts to really, get into his own. And I think, it like coming to a precipice at the end where he says, I am Iron Man. Like that is just like such a pivotal and like important moment. And as soon as that happened, I was like, yes, like it was such a good like end to his arc where he finally comes into like, I'm going to do this for everyone. I'm going to make the sacrifice. That was such a good moment for me. It felt like just a good like ending to it. Well, not only to the series, but to him himself finally coming into his own as that hero was really awesome for me. I loved that about him.
I don't think that's a cop out. I mean, given everything that happened in the film, I thought that was a great one. I thought that was a great story for Tony. So that's not a cop out. That's not a cop out.
Okay.
All right, Hope. How about you?
Oh, okay, Hope. All right.
I know you have a mean.
So
sting.
actually, no, yeah, thank you. And also, I'm the boss. No, I'm just kidding. So for me, I think surprisingly, like I was thinking about it, like, oh, Captain America, or maybe Thor, and I was like, you know what, Scott Lang. Scott Lang super duper impressed me in this movie, and I did not expect to be impressed by Scott Lang. But I think it's because having come out of the quantum zone and seeing everything, the sort of immediacy of his reaction and like the strength, like, like just sort of the magnitude of his reaction really brought the story in for me. And obviously like his return is what turns the tides, and he has the idea for the time machine and the technology and the ability, he brings the Pym particles to the table and all that. I was just super surprised, and it's not like he has like a huge character arc. It's not like he's got significantly all that much to do, but like he used to be such like, in his own movies, he's such like a, I don't know how to put this. No, yeah, kind of. Yeah, he's kind of stupid. Like there's just not many emotional stakes there, unless his daughter's involved. And it was nice to just sort of see him branch out and really get those deep emotional moments, like when he finds out, when he comes back and he's so confused as what happened, and he's like desperately searching for Cassie's name on the wall, and then realizes what's happened. All, and talking to Iron Man when they first go to his house, and of course the classic line, "Oh man, Back to the Future is a bunch of bullshit."
Yeah.
Yeah, I just thought, and at the end when he's with Hope and Cassie, and I don't know, like it felt like a very complete sort of arc for him, and something that we hadn't seen quite yet. So for me, I think that impressed me the most. Thoris is a close second, but he has lightning that for some reason like braids his beard for him.
Yeah, that was weird.
So he got demoted for that. I was like, that my disbelief is now officially suspended. God of Thunder that doesn't exist.
So I thought
So,
it was
that's it
cheese
for
whiz
me.
in his veins, not lightning, but I don't know. All
Cheese
right.
whiz.
Cheese whiz. All right. Also, can we note the importance of food in this movie? We had the peanut butter and jelly sandwich. We had the tacos. We
Yeah,
had the
yeah.
cheese whiz.
Yeah.
Cheeseburgers.
You know
They're
something
gonna
weird
release
I
a cookbook
noticed?
soon.
Yes.
No, but I noticed something weird. Except for the pepperoni pizza, and I think there's sausages on the Hulk's table. But there's like no meat in this. Like I was, no one eats like a burger or a falafel or anything. Like
Or shawarma.
that's
Arma.
shawarma, exactly. That's
Shawarma.
what I meant. I was really surprised by the lack of meat. Like Black Widow has a peanut butter sandwich. Scott Lang's taco does not have any meat in it when it blows away, which is fascinating. I don't know if they just didn't want like cooked meat on set. Whenever Thor is eating, when Captain Marvel comes in and he does a little axe thing, does not have meat in it either. Like, it's very interesting to note. The only time we see it is pepperoni pizza at Thor's house, but that makes sense because like Thor's gonna eat meat. But it makes me wonder if maybe in the post-snap world, because all the organisms are gone, that maybe all like
half the organisms are gone.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
You did say when they were talking to Banner or Professor Hulk.
Yeah, there were sausages on the table.
Yeah. Was
that? But or they might have,
right.
they might have been veggie sausages. Who knows? But you know what I mean. I wonder if maybe, since half of the organisms are gone, that means half of the meat supply is gone. I wonder if like maybe the price of meat went up super high.
Possibly.
And that's why we don't see it. Listen, I spent a whole article, I don't know if y'all remember, after Infinity War being like, so let's talk about the long-term ramifications of the snap, and failure of infrastructure, and like the mass decrease in crops were two of the big things that I brought up. So just saying, my point was proven.
There you go. And we're going to be talking about the other side of that coin very soon. All right. As for me, my MVP was the guy who actually started off the movie, Hawkeye, Clint Barton, because for so long we've been wanting him to have a bigger impact. He was completely shoehorned at, or not shoehorned, he was sidelined in the original Avengers movie. He had the epic speech with Scarlet Witch in Age of Ultron. He had, a somewhat good role in Civil War. But here, I really felt that Clint really came into his own, because of all the Avengers, he was the one who broke. And yes, I know Dad Bod Thor broke in a certain other way, but his was more of depression. He couldn't believe what had happened, and he broke, in a certain way. Clint just broke. He's lost everyone. He lost his entire family, his kids, his wife, everything. And he could have gone to his Avenger friends and, got back on the path. He tried to find Thanos and blah, blah, blah. He didn't. He went inside, and then he became the Ronin. He became determined. It's like, hey, if I am going to live in this world where, half the people are gone, I'm going to make sure that as many good people are still left alive as possible. I love that thing about, you're not going to hurt anyone anymore. It's like, I'm hurting them? You're crazy. Yeah, he is crazy because he's Ronin now and not Hawkeye. And I know some people are going to be like, well, why would he want to sacrifice himself on Vormir, because he could get his family back? Well, that's the thing. He didn't want his family to see him like this. He didn't want them to see that he had fallen so far. And that's why he was willing to take the hit for Nat, because she had potentially something out there where even though he would have his family back, he would still know what he had done in the last 5 years, which is again why I love that 5-year time jump, because we got to see how far some of them went on the wrong path. And then at the end, obviously, he helped, save the day and all that, and that was great. So I was really happy that Jeremy Renner really got to, flex his acting chops, which he has. He finally got to do it.
Yeah.
I also like the fact that they showed Hawkeye or Ronin being a bad guy for once.
Yes.
You gotta remember, when Hawkeye first came out, he was a villain.
So that's my MVP. All right, Will?
Yeah, I'm about to say as well, Clint, Hawkeye as well. He just really developed quite nicely. But for me, I mean, just for sake of variance and difference, I'm gonna go with Thor for this one, because it's pretty much like throughout the entire movies of Thor and Chris Hemsworth's performance, like he as he said, like during that 5-year time skip, he regretted it heavily. Like again, he drank so much, like he missed it for the head back in Infinity War, and since then, like I aim for the head. And 5 years later, he had the drink to the point that he pretty much had a dad bod. He had a beer belly for the point for his like. He was again like with Hawkeye. He was just in so much depression. Like, why did I aim for the head? I'm just sitting around here playing Fortnite with my buds and all that. It's like, oh my god, like how much self pity do you have? It's like, jeez Louise, get a hold of yourself, man. But like since everyone's like with everyone trying to like redeem themselves, like having this moment of opportunity, like see Chris Hemsworth finally like get back himself again, like get back into his God of Thunder mode is like one of definitely more good changes about him, especially when he meets his mother one more time before her death. Like, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this, I can't do this. I was like, okay, like, jeez Louise, man. But at the end, like, he really, like, okay, I can do this. He shaped it up. He basically put on the big boy pants and, yeah, finally just really basically become the god of war, the god of thunder once again of Norse mythology.
The god of war. That's another thing entirely.
I was about to say god of war, but and I just really also like how at the end of the battle, like he basically dual wields both Mjolnir and his axe weapon is like
Stormbreaker
as well, Skybreaker, so,
Stormbreaker.
Yeah.
He stole from Bill.
Storm!
It's Bill's axe.
But yeah, the door. I like even though it's like he is that god of thunder, he has developed this entire movie. What I feel he has improved. Yes.
I also want to add to that real quick, Will. Did you remember the end? Anybody? Todd, where he's on the ship with Quill and Thor, and he's like,
Guardians, yeah.
I was like, hey, look at that.
Yeah,
No,
he decided not to be.
I hate how Thor treats Quill. Okay, that is not cool. You think Iron Man's a jerk? Look how Thor treats Quill. What the heck, man?
He's only paying him back.
Yeah. Let's be real here. Everybody remembers that it was Quill's fault that the fucking glove wasn't taken away in the first place. So he has to
What about
suffer.
Doctor Strange? Oh, I have the time stone. Rewind. Let's just stop Quill. It would have been so easy, but no. Anyway, that's beside the point. All right, we are going to get into the biggest question that could possibly be asked. No, not the time travel thing. That's still coming. Did you cry? Because leading. Oh, okay, hold on.
Almost.
One at a time. Andrew. Yes or no?
I did. I teared up a little bit. Did not fully cry when Scott is reunited with his daughter. Because that was it really hit me. It was that as people have been saying, the 5 years later thing. That it's like all these people have thought, okay, everyone disappeared in the snap. That's probably what his daughter thought. And then he just shows up, and it's just this beautiful moment of just like, wow, they're reunited, and like, you know, people thought he disappeared in the snap, but they didn't know he was in the quantum realm. So that was really sad. But for me, the one that I cried during was Black Widow Natasha's death, and really that whole scene building up to it of her and Hawkeye, because it's, you know, like it was sad. And there were a lot of like big moments, emotional moments, but that one, it's just the fact, especially juxtaposing that with Gamora's death, where Thanos is like, okay, I have to make the decision. Oh wow, what a hard decision. Push. And then with this, they're like, okay, this is, you know, like I'll go. So the fact they were just fighting each other over who would get to go, that was so emotional. And then just really cut by that final drop with Black Widow. So yeah, that was mine.
Keith?
The end with Happy and Morgan, when, you know, he's talking about the cheeseburgers, and he's like, I'm going to get you so many cheeseburgers. And it's just sad because being a father is like, and somebody who's had their father taken from them earlier, it's like, damn, that really feels. And she doesn't know what's going on. She's a child. She doesn't know what's going on. But she'll eventually will, if she was a real life person, she would eventually realize that, hey, my dad's not here. My dad's not coming back.
All right, Rob?
Yeah, it's the same answer for me. I sympathize a lot with just like Tony's passing all the way through. I mean, as somebody who's lost a parent as well, I mean, it was tough for me. I came really close. It's really hard, and watching everybody react to his passing was really moving in a way that I pretty much didn't. Well, I expected, but was blown away at how well it was done. And they did it really well, and I was impressed by that. I got really close. I was really close to shedding a tear, but it was really great, very impactful.
Fair enough. All right, Cassie.
Well, no, I did not cry at all, because apparently I'm just a heartless butt face. But I will say, I did get misty-eyed a little bit at the end when Peter Parker's reunited with his best friend. I was like, oh my! I don't know why I was so invested in that, but maybe it's because like I love my best friend so much, and
That
being
was sweet,
separated
yeah.
from them. Yeah. That was. I mean, I felt sad. I did not cry.
I did not cry, so I guess it makes me a cold-hearted butt face too, but I can live with that. I like some of you. I got close. My biggest one was the first time we saw Peggy when he's in the office, because that was an accident, and he's like, she's right there. She's right on the other side of this glass, and I honestly can't believe that she didn't notice that there was someone looking at her, but whatever. Movie logic, which we'll get to in a second. But I was like, she's right there. She's right there, Steve. And then of course at the end when they finally got that dance, and I'm like, I felt it. I didn't cry, but I felt it. So yeah. All right, Will.
For me, I did not cry. I almost teared up as well, and I'm pretty much in consensus as well, especially when with Stark just like snapping, and then he barely said anything except just asking for Peggy. But when Peter Parker says, Mr. Stark, we won, and he just was not responding, only until just wanting to see his wife, and you see Stark like pass out, like passed on right then and there while she was speaking to him. It's like that was like that was heart-wrenching. Honestly, it was quite heart-wrenching. Just like Mr. Stark, we won, and like everyone was just, they knew he was gonna die, and yeah, that was a movie movement. Then I cried, but almost made me too. Almost, or maybe.
Yeah. That's all right. Okay. So very interesting responses. Very interesting.
Got a bunch of heartless people in here. That's what we got. Jeez.
Womp womp.
I
cried.
Not
real, Keith.
I cried during
Damn.
I cried during Wonder Woman, and I am proud of that. All right. So that was a beautiful movie.
I think the last movie I cried to was A Walk to Remember.
Oh gosh.
I think the last movie I cried to was Winnie the Pooh. I'll admit, that was the last one I cried to.
Okay, let's just move on. This is getting too weird. All right. So the biggest thing that a lot of people are talking about in terms of what exactly happened is the time travel, because Avengers Endgame went to great lengths in a certain scene to outline their principles of time travel, what works, what doesn't, and how it doesn't relate to all the time travel movies and TV shows they mentioned. But then they break their own rules, and now nothing makes sense. So strap in, ladies and gentlemen. It's time for Time Travel with Todd. I would show you my whiteboard that I have behind me, but unfortunately,
is it like one of those conspiracy theory boards where you got tape and string everywhere?
This is a simple outline of all the things that are now broken in the Marvel continuity because of Endgame. It's really, really simple. Okay, let's start with the obvious one. Loki. All right. So
right.
Don't interrupt me, Will. So in the movie, they go back in time to get the 3 stones that are in New York during the Battle of New York, which is a brilliant move. I loved that they thought of that. I honestly forgot that all 3 stones were there at that time. Anyway, so they go back and they had this brilliant plan to get the Tesseract, which is the Power Stone. But of course, it doesn't work, and Loki grabs the stone and disappears. Now, if you remember the end of the first Avengers movie, Thor takes Loki up to Asgard, which leads into Thor: The Dark World, where he's in prison, then gets broken out, then takes over for Odin, and so on and so forth. But if Loki disappears with the Tesseract, he's not going back to Asgard with all-knowing Father and Heimdall looking for him. He would go to the places between dimensions, which means that Thor: The Dark World did not happen the way it did, which means that he did not take over for Odin, which means that Odin didn't die, which means that Hela doesn't get released from her prison, which means that Asgard doesn't get destroyed by Surtur, and eventually he and Loki and half the Asgardians don't get killed by Thanos, which means that the beginning of Infinity War did not happen.
Okay.
But I think they explained that as like a branching timeline. So in a different timeline, Loki is still alive. He's just not technically alive.
But no, that's incorrect, because Hulk specifically says you cannot go back into your past and change your own past. And recall that part of the Captain America journey at the end was to return all the stones to the exact moment that they took them, so that the timeline would be fine, which means that the incident with the Tesseract in 2012 still happened because they took the Tesseract from the 1970s. Which means that their timeline should not happen as it does.
You're hurting yourself.
No, I'm not.
This is why movies don't do time travel anymore, because they're always convoluted.
No, Keith, there's more. We got to get through the whole list, Keith.
There's more. Let's talk about Captain America. Okay, Captain America, as charged by Hulk, was to go through all the timeline that they had done and return all the gems. Mm-hmm. Perfectly logical, except for these couple things. Number one, the Tesseract and the Aether and the Mind Stone were not in gem form when they took them. They were in the Tesseract form. They were in the sludgy Aether form, and then they were in the Scepter. How did Captain America put it all back exactly like it was? That literally doesn't make sense. It's shut up.
Nanomachines, son.
This is the stuff that nerds think about at night, and I am a nerd. Also, here's another question, which could be answered, but likely will not. If the Soul Stone had the whole eternal exchange, as long as you have the stone, we have the soul, that would mean that when he returned the stone, that either Black Widow or Gamora is a kaiju, Gamora would have returned. But we don't see that.
No.
And plus, there's the whole Captain America meeting the Red Skull thing, which was a scene we deserved to see. I'm sorry. So, and also with the Aether, he would have had to re-inject Jane Foster with it. How does that work? Exactly. So how does that work exactly? And then, of course, there's the other Captain America plot hole, which is Peggy Carter. We all knew that he was going to get with Peggy in the end, but everyone thought it would be like a death vision scene, which I would have cried at. Full stop. I would have cried at that.
Okay.
But no, he went back to 1945 and was with her, and he said, what proven by the ring, that he married her, which brings up two huge plot holes. Number one, in Winter Soldier, Peggy said that she got married, had kid, and had a good life. And she was stunned when she saw Captain America. Again, hence proven via her, what do you want to call it, mental relapse, where she panicked when Steve was there. So that proves that he wasn't the one that she married, which was further proven by the Agent Carter TV series, which was canceled way too soon, where she eventually gave up her love for Steve, knowing she had to move on, and married one of her other, it wasn't called the S.H.I.E.L.D. at the time, but one of her other S.H.I.E.L.D. agents. This was proven. So that means that her entire life has been rewritten because of what Steve did, which means she didn't marry the other guy. She didn't have those kids. We don't know if they had kids. That was never stated by Steve. And she would have had to stay silent about her marriage, about Steve being back for the rest of their lives. Which means that
she didn't marry Steve. They just danced, and then he married someone else.
No. He said, when Sam saw the ring, he goes, "You gonna tell me about her?" "No, I don't think I will." And
exactly. He didn't tell anybody. We don't know who he married.
And you know it. We know he married Peggy.
He could have went back, had his fling, and then disappeared. Because another plot hole, if you think about this, he went back to the past. What about Captain that's still in the iceberg?
No, that one's actually easily dispersed, because this is not the same Cap that went into the iceberg. That is the only thing that makes sense. There's technically two Caps in 1945. There's the one that's in the iceberg, and there's the one from the future that came back to the past.
So he avoided the other Cap the entire time.
Didn't have to worry about it. He knew where he was going to be.
But if he was with Peggy, but he doesn't know he's going to pop up and see Peggy. He never lived that life. He could have been there smoozing with Peggy, and Cap would have came to, hey, Peg, whoa, wait a second.
No, because okay, now you're thinking too hard. Cap was in the ice until 2000 whatever. He knew exactly the life he was going to live. This was the future Captain America.
But that's all changed now. Anything could have happened, like you said, like you mentioned.
It didn't, because there's in this one instance, this is where time travel makes sense, because there were two Captain Americas, the one that was in the ice, frozen from the event, and the one that came from the future to be in the past to be with Peggy.
I still think it's impossible for him to avoid anybody knowing who the hell he is. I mean, everybody.
That's what I'm saying. That is impossible. But to avoid himself is easy. To avoid everybody else is impossible. So, as you can see,
not even that.
Before y'all murder each other.
Not even that.
Is broken.
Like the bench, when he came back and he was on the bench, like you were. Wait, how? What? What? How would you just sit?
Long way. He came back a long way home, and he knew exactly where to be when that happened, and so he was waiting for them.
So why didn't they see him before that?
I honestly can't answer that.
Exactly.
He's
been here the entire time?
Yeah, you never know. Anyway, so as you can see, time travel apparently does not work the same way in the Avengers universe, because they could just throw whatever at the wall and see what sticks, and none of it stuck.
I want to make a point here real quick about the Soul Stone. I mean, yes, about Red Skull and Captain America, I want to see that, but actually, they say that the Soul Stone is a non-returnable, non-transferable deal. Like, even if you give the stone back, you still made the deal in the first place. So there is a reason that Natasha can't go back. It's because, they made the deal.
I can accept that. And if that was really the case, but he said an everlasting exchange. So that's what threw a lot of people off. But I can understand. I will give
But it's
that
everlasting. It is devoid of loopholes. It's like, you make the deal is made. I don't give a shit if you give the stone back.
I mean,
the deal is made.
The whole time travel thing, if you think about it, everything, like you said, Todd, it's all jacked up because obviously, A, it's a movie, but B, like, for example, Tony Stark died. They've already proven that you can jack up the past and it didn't change the future. When Nebula killed herself, her past self.
Yeah, that one too.
It's like, she's still here. Okay,
still here.
Go get past Tony right before he dies. Hey, Tony, you're about to freaking die, dude.
Also, and here's another one, Nebula from 2014 brought in Thanos, the Black Order, and everyone else from 2014 to 2023. And then they die in 2023, which means that they weren't there in 2014 to start off Infinity War and everything else. So
you've got to imagine that the Russo brothers are getting grilled and they're like, we're done. We don't care. We're not doing any more movies. We're done.
Want to say, I like how they called Back to the Future bullshit, but it holds water so much better than anything in Endgame.
Yeah, I know. I was literally telling a friend that I want a Saturday Night Live skit where the Russo brothers are in an interrogation room, but instead of cops interrogating them, it's fans, and they're just going ape.
Oh my god, that would be good. That would be amazing.
Like
it'll never happen, but it'll be so
like
good.
A couple Loki fangirls going, "Where is Loki? Where is he?"
Oh my god, I want that and a meme like the Spider-Man pointing meme that they use at the end of Into Spider-Verse, but with Nebula.
Yeah.
Nebula's just pointing at each other like you.
I also don't like the fact that they don't tell us what happened to Gamora at the end. Does she leave?
They left it open.
It's going to be in the third Guardians probably.
Hopefully.
Oh, volume 3.
Instead of search for Spock, it's going to be search for Gamora.
Oh boy.
I want to note that there was another loophole, not in a time travel thing, but in a piece of dialogue. They said that Gamora's only choices for mating was Quill or Groot. And I'm like, wait a minute, what about Drax? Drax is there.
Drax doesn't want to hook up
Drax
with
is...
He would break her.
It was still an option. It was an option, but it was an unlikely one, but it was still an option. Yeah. I mean, she didn't say Rocket, so, like, okay.
I would hope not.
Oh my god. Okay, this is getting into weird territory.
I've seen enough animated to know where this is going.
I think I know
this is
off-brand anime we're talking about.
So has Will. Anyway, okay, it's time to wrap it up with our wrap-up. Really quick, everyone go down. What do you think the impact of Endgame, not including box office, that's already, sealed its fate, but in terms of impact over the MCU and in fan-based culture, what do you think Endgame is? How do you think Endgame is going to be remembered? Andrew.
Yeah, that's part of my review. Is just I think a year from now, it's not gonna quite live up to like the rose glasses that we remember it or how we think of it now. Um, but yeah, I'm curious just to see actually how it impacts Guardians of the Galaxy 3.
All right, Keith.
I don't think that fans are going to forget about this movie anytime soon, just like people haven't forgotten about Infinity War. I do think that a lot of people remember this as, hey, they had an amazing 10, 11 years, and they showed that comic books and movies can coexist and that we're ready for phase 4. I think this is going to be remembered as one of the better movies in the MCU just because of all the characters that were in it and everything that it did. Flaws and all. And the death of Tony Stark and the removal of Captain America from MCU going forward.
Fair enough. Rob?
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I believe, like, sure, plenty of the flaws will start to show as the hype kind of dies down for the film, but it's still, like, such a good, like, epitome for the phase 3, and, like, it's a good finale, even whether you decide to stick around for phase 4 or not, whether you're a big Marvel fan or you're just somebody who likes going to movies a lot and wants to go to the big thing. I mean, I thought it was such a good finale, for everyone, fan service, fan service galore throughout the whole movie. So it was great for pretty much everyone. I thought it was a good finale, and it's gonna be tough trying to watch the rest of Phase 4 just because it's such a good, like, it's an ending. And it'll definitely be hard to stick around for the rest of the movies, but I mean, people still will. It's just it was a great, very impactful ending.
I like that. All right, Aunt May.
What? She wasn't in this movie. Obviously,
She was
she's
in the
like 2
movie.
minutes.
She was in the
She's in
movie.
2 minutes. Whatever. She didn't have dialogue. Anyway. Actually, she does. Anyway, sorry. I'm gonna come in hot with my controversy, sausage, salsa, whatever. And actually say that even though this movie is gonna be really fondly remembered, and like I said, we're gonna get a director's cut, we're gonna get like the Lord of the Rings treatment for this bad boy, all the behind the scenes, all that stuff. I actually have a sneaking suspicion that Far From Home is going to throw this whole thing through a weird loop because they have announced that technically it is the closer of Phase 3, Far From Home. And Zendaya, who plays Mary Jane, which I was like, okay, that's a weird one. Like, you just bring up Mary Jane at the very end, whatever. She posted something where she was just like, tears streaming down her face, and the caption said something like, oh my god, having seen Endgame, everything in Far From Home makes sense. So I'm just like, oh shit, what's in Far From Home? Why is it closing out Phase 3 and not starting out Phase 4? I think something's going to happen, and it's going to throw us all through a loop, or they're just keeping it extra super duper hush hush. So there is my conspiracy salsa, just throwing it in there to the mix. Also, I have a weird question for everybody to think about as they go home tonight and replay the movie in their head. Are you ready, guys?
Shoot.
Where did Valkyrie get a Pegasus?
Hey, that was one of the questions I asked. That I did. I have proof. Yes. Where did she get her Pegasus? I had that same thought. I did.
Yeah. Where did it come from? Where did it go? How did it survive?
Cotton Eye Joe.
That's
peace.
All right. As for me, I think that many will look at this as I noted it earlier on, as just a near masterpiece of nerd spectacle. We got to see Captain America wield Mjolnir. We got to see all the Avengers together. We got to hear Avengers assemble in a very quiet whisper. We got to, see Quill reunited with Gamora and all these great little things. And time travel issues aside, and the question of how the world is going to react to 4 or 5 billion people just suddenly showing up again, it's going to be
5 years older.
In 5 years
Everybody
older.
else is 5 years older.
Exactly. And so, aside from those weird plot issues, it's going to be remembered as a great ending to a story, over a decade in the making and 20 some odd films. And it's proof that this can be done. It's proof that you can make a cohesive cinematic universe, have it be a box office success, critical success, and that you can end it in a way that is meaningful and impactful and makes $1.2 billion in its opening weekend worldwide. So, yeah. Will, wrap it up for us.
For me, I feel like this film is definitely gonna be remembered for time. Definitely for times to come until the next major epic. I mean, granted, this will be the last film that the Russo brothers will be making, so we can only imagine what the future's gonna hold. Like, will there be something that's gonna top this film? That's like kind of like the staple now. Again, Iron started off. This is apparently the end since then because of Stark's death. Like, it's gonna be interesting to see how it's gonna be held up in the test time. Like, I would definitely like to see like who can really up this film. And as you said, Todd, this is pretty much pure fan service of the source material and everything else. And Stanley's last cameo, so it won't be feeling the same at the films afterward. I mean, heck, I'm definitely gonna be interested to see how Volume 3, Guardians of the Galaxy, the next Spider-Man film, and whatever they have in plan to store in the future. So this film definitely gonna be one of the staples to like stop at, but I'm definitely curious to see how they're gonna jump off after this film. So that's what I'm gonna be waiting to see.
All right. And with that, we are ending our Avengers Endgame Spoilercast here on the Outerhaven.
We're in the end game now.
Oh, no, we have finished the
Yeah.
end game now. We have finished the end game now, my friend.
But not
All right.
phase 3.
But not phase 3. Not phase 3. Anyway, let us know what you thought about Avengers Endgame. What were your favorite parts? What were your biggest surprises? What were your favorite characters? What did you think of the time travel shenanigans that went on in the shindig? And we hope to hear all about it. And of course, you can tweet us at the Outerhaven on Twitter. So we hope you talk with us there as well. So for Andrew, Keith, Rob, Okoye, Sara, and William, I'm Todd Black. And ladies and gentlemen, we will see you around. Avengers Assemble!